Okay, everybody. Hopefully you'll see an image pop up here in a minute. There we go. And yeah, welcome. We are live on this Tuesday, the 21st of January, 2025. It is 11:25 a.m. And yes, I will get into this later, but I have basically updated my computer. Yes, my computer is updated. Supposedly, apparently, I got a message afterwards that said something happened because, well, basically there was an error. We'll put it that way. There was an error that occurred, and basically there was like one update that didn't go through or something. I'm assuming it has to do with the security update. No, actually, the security update did go through, I think, but I think it has to do with something else, if you will. Has to do with something else, but I think honestly it has to do with this month's update because it didn't go because it said something was not connecting. I'm not really sure. Now, first of all, let me double check my thing here, make sure everything is good. Make sure everything is good. It was something else, but yeah, okay, just making sure. But yeah, basically it might have been something else or something. I don't really know. I mean, I tried to update the computer and everything on I think what was it, Saturday. I tried to update it on Saturday. That did well, not actually I updated it on Saturday. Well, not Saturday. Actually, excuse me. I actually updated it on Friday, I believe, on Friday or something like that. And apparently, the security update went through, but then the cumulative updates for January, there's two of them. One that's for the framework and one that's for whatever else. They did not go through. They had to be retried. So I retried them yesterday after I uploaded some content for you guys. I retried them and they went through, or apparently one of them went through. The other didn't. And again, I'll get into this later when I talk about it, because as you can see on the screen, these are the updates we're going to be, or not updates, but these are the topics we're going to be talking about. But first of all, as you could see it on the screen as well, I also want to give you a bit of a vlog as to what's been happening this past week. And this past week is not, this past week's been okay. It's been intriguing, there's no doubt. I will say that for me anyway, it wasn't that much of a there wasn't much going on. I will say that there wasn't really much going on as far as like things to do and stuff, if you will. But things were fine. Things were all right. There is no doubt about that. But anyway, excuse me, to continue on, like I said, not really much happening when it comes to things and all that. It's just normal week, normal, kind of a normal as usual week, outside of Christmas break, the 1 week spring break, summer, and then of course, holiday weekends like this. It's one of those, it's just one of those weeks that was interesting, like I say, to say the least. No doubt, just really interesting to say the least, in my opinion. But yeah, not really much happening, as far as I could tell you. Not really much. And yeah, I was just, and like I said, just doing my normal thing, getting out content as much as I can for you guys and all that, giving my thoughts on certain things, and so on. Just doing what I have to, keep myself busy and everything. Gonna probably be taking down the tree either, later today, or at least part of it later today and into tomorrow. Got the rest of this week to do it, because I know there's a lot of people that still keep their trees up and the decorations up for at least another month, because sometimes when you take down, sometimes when you put up the Christmas decorations, you go all out for it. You want to, you want to be, enjoying the fruits of your labor, if you will. You want to enjoy the fruits of your labor. So for someone like me, I'm more along the lines of, I'm gonna take it down because you can't have it up forever, but I want to enjoy the fruits of the labor. It's like, hey, this is why you see people after Halloween almost immediately go right into Christmas, because they want to have time. They want to have a reasoning for the Christmas decorations being up, even a little past New Year's. They want to enjoy the fruits of their labor. So I'm going to be taking them down eventually soon, because, got to get, readjusted to normal life outside of holidays and everything. And, really that's about it. But really not really much going on outside of that and everything. Not really much happening. I guess you could say personally or employment wise. But yeah, it's been a very, very interesting week, and not really much more to say than that. I mean, obviously the playoffs have started and are on the way, and I'll talk about that later as well. But not really much to go on. I will say this though, I have been getting back into Monday Night Raw lately, more so than I have in a while. And I think it's all due to the fact that the show comes on now at 5 o'clock Pacific, not on tape delay, which I like. I like the fact that, this deal with Netflix is making WWE have to show Monday Night Raw live, simultaneously across the world, if not the country, and people, people can't really spoil what's going on for people that would watch it on delay. Now, of course, not everybody's going to watch it live. If they don't catch it live, they'll just watch the replay later when they get home, or just go through certain moments of the replay that they want to see. But yeah, just, not too much going on. Like I said, not too much going on. And, just biding my time, seeing what's going to happen next, what's around the corner and stuff. And really, that's all I can actually say. I mean, outside of some other things as well, but I'm going to give my thoughts on some things in separate videos and stuff. But I just wanted to come on here and, first of all, like I say, with a vlog, tell you what's been going on this past week and such, as well as also thank you guys for supporting me over the past almost, it's going to be, believe it or not, and I mentioned this prior, it's going to be 17 years with this channel. This summer, it's going to be 17 years. Lord willing, God forbid anything doesn't happen. But yeah, it's going to be about 17 years with this channel. And this year actually marks almost 20 years. Almost 20 years since I joined YouTube. I think that'll be more like towards the end of the year when I officially joined with my first channel. Then that got taken away. Then I got my second channel, and that lasted to 2008. And then here we are now. So yeah, basically, I want to thank you guys for sticking with me over the past 15 years on this channel, almost 15 years this year with this channel. Oh, it's not 15, but 17. I'm getting a little, I'm looking at the numbers here. I'm getting a little convoluted here. But yeah, past 17 years, if you will, going on, which will be this summer. So I do thank you guys for that. Let me get some Coca-Cola here so I can get focused again. That's better. But yeah, I just want to, like I said, thank you guys for sticking with me through thick and thin. It really is appreciative. Now, before we get going, guys, I will let you know that Super Chats are open. If you want to help donate there, it'd be greatly appreciated. Super Thanks will be available after this gets settled in. It goes through its uploading and progressing and all that, which live streams do. They wait a couple of hours, if not 12 hours or something like that, to get themselves all set and ready to go before maybe Super Thanks is implied. But yeah, Super Chats are open if you want to help donate there. It'd be greatly appreciated. And Super Thanks will be after the full rendering of the live stream within the next several hours after the live stream ends. But yeah, Super Chats are open, guys. You can also find me and all your other favorite outlets. I have outlets at places like Odyssey.com at BW Rosas. I have Rumble. I have a Rumble.com account at BW Rosas. You can find my podcast, which is called BW Rosas' Discussions, and all your favorite audio and video podcast affiliates like iHeartRadio, Pandora, iTunes, Spotify, Audible, Radio Public, you name it. If you can find me, if it has a podcast, I should say, if it has a podcast, that as part of its, I guess you could say, as part of its library, along with music, or it's mainly an outlet for podcast. Period. You will probably find my podcast there along with many other podcasts that are available. So yeah, I'm at places like iHeart, iTunes, Spotify, Audible, Pandora, I think Radio Public, Overcast, and many others. Like I say, you can find my podcast potentially there as well, along with many other notable podcasters and their shows along with them. Also, you can find me at divanart.com at BVW1979 and at inkbunny.net at BW Rosas. I also have a Teespring store. There's merchandise there. You can see it at the bottom as well. When you click on the information, you will see the little shop icon. There is some merchandise there that you can get over at the Teespring store. Be really greatly appreciated if you can do that. But yeah, you can also find me social media wise. These are the two primary ones you can find me at. Twitter, X if you will, at BW Rosas, and Blue Sky. That is where you will see me link most of my videos that I do, live streams that I do, podcasts if you will. I will link them there for obvious reasons when it comes to Facebook, because on Facebook, I have family and friends, if you will, so I don't want them to kind of like see what I'm I mean, they obviously do see what I'm talking about and everything, but, there are some things I might say and, they might take out of interpretation. So I do apologize if you don't see much on Facebook or anything, but you'll see it mostly on Twitter and Blue Sky. I am going to be working on probably getting me I don't know if this is going to be popular with a lot of folks, but I'm going to be working on getting a Truth Social account up. So if that happens, you'll see it over on Truth Social. And I might even get a TikTok thing going again, just like I've had before. Actually, I do have a TikTok. I just don't use it much. Mainly because of the fact that we weren't sure if TikTok was going to be around, right? After this weekend, but our new leader of this country, of the United States, said, "Nope, I'm going to keep it around." He obviously saw how popular it is, and how useful it is, and they're going to try to work something out to where it will remain, but it might be like, in my opinion, might be a 50-50 deal between both China and the U.S., but we shall see. Okay. Get some more cola, some soda there. But yeah, pretty much though, that's pretty much every place like I mentioned right now currently that you'll see in the description. You can find me in those locations. Now, let's get on to what our topics will be. And I printed out the topics anyway, but you can see them on the screen. We have basically on tap, we have 8 topics to look into. And I do apologize first and foremost if the phone goes off. I usually get a phone call from family about 10, maybe around between 2 and 3 o'clock, stuff like that, to check in on things and such. So I'm just letting you know right off the bat, if basically the phone rings, I'm going to have to excuse myself to another area in the building to kind of talk to the family member in private. So I do apologize for that if it occurs. But with that said, like I mentioned, we have 8 topics we're going to go over. You see the topics right there on the screen. The first topic we're going to go over is Donald Trump sworn in as president for the second time, and some folks in media, politics, and the country are still coming up with excuses as to why Trump shouldn't be back in office. I forgot to put the word up, but you kind of understand what I was trying to say. Again, first topic, Donald Trump sworn in as president for the second time, and some folks in media, politics, and the country are still coming with excuses as to why Trump shouldn't be back in office. And believe me, there's one that involves the guy that runs Twitter, X, if you will, that has gotten completely ridiculously out of hand, and and it's like, seriously, you guys are reaching too hard if that's the case. So we'll talk about that. Second topic we'll talk about is wrestling related. In fact, we got a couple of wrestling related topics here. But basically, the second topic we'll talk about is PCO, a wrestler that's been around for almost 30 years, 40 years. He's like in his 50s now, but he's still going, for his age, for his size. But PCO, known as Pierre Carl Roulette, we'll put it that way, Pierre Carl Roulette, PCO, destroys the TNA Digital Media Championship, which is, I think, the equivalent for TNA as being their TV Internet Championship, at the GCW event, that being Global Changer Wrestling, the People versus GCW. So yeah, we'll talk about that. The third topic we'll talk about is who's heading to the Super Bowl. And after this week, it's going to be very interesting to see exactly what matchups we might get on the 9th of February. Fourth topic, wrestling related again. Corey Graves, who's one of the more prolific commentators and occasionally play-by-play announcers in WWE, former wrestler, but it's been cleared to come back. We'll talk about him not being happy with his announcing position and let it be known on Twitter, but then deletes those tweets. Yeah, Corey Graves not happy with his announcing position and let it be known at Twitter, but then deletes those tweets. So we'll talk about that. As to why even a lot of folks, even those in the business, are basically playing up, the violin thing, that when it comes to it. Number 5, we'll talk about why do quote-unquote wrestling fans complain about things that don't make sense. And I've kind of alluded to this before, but it's, again, worth talking about because you go on Twitter and even Blue Sky and other places, like Facebook and such, and it's like, seriously, you guys are going to complain about that? You obviously are stretching or you're trolling. Then, number 6, we'll talk about that this year, 2025, will be the last year, or basically this is what the topic says, and I quote, number 6, we'll talk about this is the last year Microsoft will give support to Windows 10, which ends in October 2025, but should support continue to at least 2026. So we'll talk about that and whether or not support should continue. Number 7, and you'll see it on the bottom screen. You'll see it at the bottom and continuing on to the other side. Number 7, when you have a chance, money-wise, upgrade to the monthly subscription that gives you the most credits. And that means basically talking about AI, like Kling, Luma, Pixiverse, or Pixiverse, I should say, not Pixiverse, but Pixiverse, Luma, Kling, Halo U, so on. We'll talk about that. Why when you have the chance to do it. And number 8, should Paramount, this is what we're going to close out with, should Paramount/Hasbro make the upcoming Transformers G.I. Joe film based in the IDW Energon universe, or at least take elements from it to add to the movie's story? So that's what we're going to talk about going forward with them. And we're going to start here at 19 minutes with our first topic being Donald Trump sworn in as president for the second time, and some folks in media and politics in the country are still coming up with excuses as to why Trump shouldn't be back in office. So yeah, yesterday on January 20th, which was also Martin Luther King Day, holiday weekend, which coincided with Inauguration Day, which is the third time, according to news outlets, that has happened, and we won't see it again until at least the 2050s, at least, of it happening one more time, or at least in our lifetime anyway, people of my generation. But anyway, getting back on topic here, yesterday Donald Trump was sworn in as the 47th president of the United States. He was president before as the 45th one. But then, of course, he lost that to Biden due to controversial means in the eyes of a lot of folks, even the president himself. But but this past November, it was all apparently, in the eyes of many people, millions of people, thousands, if you will, was rectified and then officially made yesterday on January 20th. Now, what was interesting about yesterday is for the first time in 40 years, actually, we had the inauguration indoors. Now, the reason they had it indoors was because of the fact that for some of you that live in that area, in the Washington, D.C. area, or at least in that portion of the country, it was very, very cold. Basically, it was in the 20s, like the mid to high 20s, if you will, for a high. And then it was in the mid to high teens, if not low teens, for a low at night. And even President Trump and Vice President Vance, they joked about the fact that, man, we went out there to say goodbye to the Bidens because the Bidens are no longer there. They actually flew off here to California to have a vacation. We don't know what's going on with Harris. What was interesting about that is Harris and her husband took a limo or a car to the airport, I'm assuming, the same airport that Biden was going, but took separate planes. And wherever she's going to go next, it's up to her, whatever her next step's going to be. So I drink some more Coca-Cola. But it's going to be up to her what her next step is going to be. But a lot of people are assuming that Harris, she might be running for governor of California, might be persuaded at least to run for governor of California in 2026. And if not that, might be persuaded to jump back onto the presidential trail for 2028. But take, as I've mentioned at one time in an audio video, take what she is going to learn from her mistakes here. Take what she's learned from here, the mistakes she made, and apply it to her campaign trail in 2028 so she doesn't make those same mistakes again. But, we shall see. We shall see what she does, what her next step is. But Biden, he's done. I think his political career is over. I think he's going to retire silently. And him and his wife are probably just going to enjoy their vacation and then probably go home and just live their lives out as normal as they can. And, unless something comes up that, persuades Biden to, talk, make a speech. I mean, I'm sure he'll make speeches and all that across the country if he's able to. But more than likely, it'll be his wife more than him. Let's be honest. But yeah, it was, but like I said, getting back to the inauguration, it was moved indoors yesterday due to the cold, the first time in 40 years. That it was done. Now I know some people might say, "Well, that's not entirely true. It's happened before." Yeah, I think something did happen similarly, but it was mostly like other activities. When it came to the inauguration, that would be outside, held outside, were moved indoors. But most of the other swearing-ins and all that were done, outside of the Capitol and such. But it was moved inside again due to the bitter cold and everything. That was going through the East Coast and everything at that time. Excuse me. But most of the country is going through a cold right now, or going through a cold effect. I mean, here in California, right now it's about 54 degrees at 11:49 a.m. Pacific. Now, you might say that's, that's typical for this time of year. At this morning, really, excuse me there. And yeah, it might be, but, to older people and all that, it's just a little bit more bitter than it should be. And you can kind of feel it, too. At night, we have a heater and everything that when we lower it to a certain temperature and everything to kind of like save energy and stuff, you can feel like the cold coming right through and everything. And then when you turn on the heater, get it back up a little bit, that's when you can feel the heat and all that, and it feels better. But you can definitely feel that there's an Arctic blast going through the country and everything, more so the Midwest and East Coast than the West Coast. But we're getting it too, but not as bad apparently. Well, certain parts of the country, I should correct myself. Certain parts of the West Coast are getting it, like the Northwest is getting it. But certain parts here in California are not getting it as bad as, I guess you could say the meteorologists locally and nationally have assumed it would be. It's good cold. It's good cola. But, yeah, basically, they moved it indoors, and there was actually a funny moment. They were talking about this on the Will Cain show. Um, apparently, apparently those that were attending the inauguration, celebrity-wise, athlete-wise, apparently one person that was there fell out of their chair, literally fell out of their chair, and it was old, and nobody, and he's assuming, I can't think of his name right now, but he's assuming that the people behind him did it on purpose, and those people that were sitting behind him, the Paul brothers, Logan and Jake. So yeah, they were there, of course, and supported Trump. But they're saying, oh, this guy, I should say, is assuming they did it on purpose because they're known to do stuff like that. They're known to try to be little, I guess you could say, troublemakers when they want to be and all that. Pranksters, jokesters, but not really sure. Not really sure. He can't really assume it was them and everything. He can't really assume it was them, but you never know. You never know. That is kind of part of the forte. And again, guys, super chats are open if you want to help donate there. Venmo, Cash App are available as well. And super thanks after the live stream is done rendering within the next several hours after it's done. But anyway, like I said, that was probably a funny moment. That was a laughable moment. So, however it happened, we don't know. We don't really know. But yeah, he was. But yeah, the whole thing was moved indoors. Carrie Underwood, one of the best singers ever to come out of American Idol. Excuse me, there. Carrie Underwood, who's going to be back at American Idol. Full circle moment for her as a judge. Remember, she won in the first or second season. Correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, Carrie Underwood was there. She performed "America the Beautiful." But what's crazy about this is that Carrie Underwood had to do it a cappella style. Yeah. And what that means is she wasn't going operatic. They had somebody else coming in and doing his version of the Star Spangled Banner in operatic style. I can't think of his name. It's Christopher or something. He did an operatic version, I think, of the Star Spangled Banner. Well, Carrie Underwood did America the Beautiful. But what was interesting is that there was some tech issues. I'm assuming has to do with the weather a little bit, because even though they were indoors, the weather can have an effect. So she just said, "Screw it! I'm going to sing this, and I'm going to sing it a cappella. I'm going to sing it without, the musical notes to guide me. The musical the musical notes, the sound and everything, to guide me." And she did a magnificent job. This is why she is one of the best. This is why you have people like Jason Alden, who Fox had on the Fox and Friends this morning. Jason Alden working with her. This is why you have people like Ludacris working with her. Michael W. Smith working with her, and so on. You have a lot of people working with this girl in collaborations, either on her albums or their albums, and she does a magnificent job. She's a great, great addition. I mean, Keith Urban does a collab with her on the Fighter song, which I have actually used for a My Little Pony fan vid that I did, PMV, focused on Rarity and Spike. So check that out if you guys haven't checked it out yet. Anyway, though, yeah, she did a tremendous job. They had several pastors in there. One pastor was, he's a senior pastor, a very young senior pastor, in my opinion. He basically channeled Martin Luther King, in my opinion. His prayer was like, whoo! You would think it was Martin Luther King reincarnated. He used a lot of what King said in his speech and all that, and he just really brought a vibrance, in my opinion, there. They also had a pastor, a father, if you will, from the Catholic faith in there. So they just, for an indoor transition from the traditional outdoor ceremony, they did a tremendous job, in my opinion. They did a tremendous, tremendous job. And what was interesting about it is, and this is one thing that the news has been covering, and I even talked to my family about it, and they said, oh, it's not that big of a deal. It's their choice. But obviously it's a big deal because it breaks from tradition. People were talking about the fact that Michelle Obama was not going to attend because of her disdain for Trump and everything. And, a lot of the news outlets were saying, well, some were arguing that it was her consent to not to go. But some were even saying that it's kind of like not a good look for her to break tradition. But they also brought up that Trump did it as well in 2021 when Biden was sworn in and everything because of how he felt the election went and all that. And it isn't a good look for somebody when they kind of say, nah, I'm not going to go to this. I don't want to take part in it. That it's not a good look for them, especially if maybe in the future they get persuaded to run for office or run for some kind of office in our nation's capital or run for the title of president. So yeah, I do agree. It's not a good look. It's not a good look, period. For someone like her to for someone like her to do that, because it's like essentially, and hold on for a sec while I check something. Just gotta check something here for a second. But yeah, it's not a good look, for somebody that wants to potentially run, for office in the near future. It's not a good look. And all I was doing was turning back on the Bose soundbar speaker because it goes off after a while. It goes back to TV speaker. But anyway, that was one of the things they were talking about and everything. And yeah, it's not a good look when you don't attend, especially if you do realize that the person that is being sworn in won fair and square this time around. There was no controversy and everything. There was no controversy, but yeah, that was one of the big talking points. The fact that she was not attending because of her disdain for him. But then again, they did bring up, like I said, Trump not attending in 2021 due to how he felt. But a lot of people would say he did have a reasoning because he felt like, hey, that should have been me being sworn back in, at that time, and not Biden being sworn in and such. So anyway, yeah, that was one of the talkable news items coming out of going into yesterday, and maybe not so much coming out of it. But yeah, they went all out for this, and Trump, of course, they were C-SPAN and C-SPAN 2, the secondary channel, and Fox News and Newsmax. They were all following Trump throughout the day and what he was doing, and he was signing all the executive orders. And after he did that, he handed out pens to his staff and everything, or the people that were there with him that supported him. He was signing all these executive orders, taking some questions and everything. So yeah, it was a very interesting day to say the least. But one of the more newsworthy items that came out, and probably one of the most far-reaching, most, and I say this with all due respect, no offense. Say it with all due respect, no offense. But one of the biggest far-reaching, ridiculous excuses for not wanting Trump in office, not being happy that Trump got in office fair and square. Whether you like the guy or not, you have to admit it was fair and square. One of the dumbest, lamest excuses people could come up with as to why they feel this was not the right decision, not the right person to vote in. Elon Musk, because like I said, they had to move a lot of the events, including the inaugural parade, indoors at the Capital One Arena. They had to, because it's usually outside, but because it was so cold, they had to, put it into the Capital One Arena, which I think is home of the Washington Capitals. But anyway, basically, they have it all set up for Trump to show up, speak, take part in it, speak, thank people and all that, right? So Elon Musk, he's a big supporter. He's there as a guest speaker, and he's there, Elon Musk is going to be Elon Musk, right? We all know that. So he's thanking everybody for making this possibility happen. And then what he does, he says, from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you guys and everything. And what he does is he puts his hand to his chest, and then he says, and then he does, bam. Basically, he waves it up in a certain way. And a lot of folks took him basically throwing his, which I look at as a symbolic gesture of, thanking from his heart, throwing his heart out to people and thanking them. That's what I looked at. It was him, throwing his heart out to them and, in a way as being a thank you for making this moment happen. basically a lot of people took that gesture, and if you hear anything in the background, that's the Newman whistle going off, and I have my fridge on right now as well, my little mini fridge. But anyway, people took that, gesture, that symbolic gesture of him, putting his hand over his chest and then throwing his heart out to people as a thank you, from the bottom of his heart for making this moment happen. People in the media, if you will, and in the media, and in politics, and in the country, people across this country that are not happy with Trump being in. They're not happy with him being in. Took what Elon did when he says, "From the bottom of my heart, thank you," and he puts his hand up. They're saying that what he did was a salute. That I'm not going to say what it is because the YouTube algorithm, and I don't know how they would perceive it. But he did a salute that became became synonymous with a certain evil dictator, in Germany in World War II. That is what they took it for. They took it for that gesture, or they took it as being, that I can't even tell you right now clearly how ridiculous this was. And what's crazy? What's crazy is I was watching, a lot. I was reading what other people were saying, and some were in agreement, like, "Oh my God, tell me that. Oh my God, he did that. Oh God, no, that's a bad sign. That's a bad omen." And da. But there were others that did comment in return, going like, "How far?" They're basically their reaction to seeing people react to, Elon doing that. It's like those that, it's like, again, they're looking at it like that, like, "Oh my God, that's a bad omen. Oh my God, that's just proof enough to say that people made a bad mistake, da. But then you have other people commenting, as well, that are looking at this and they're like, "Man, you guys are reaching so far so far left, so far right, so far up and down. You're reaching so far to the bottom of the barrel for any excuse, any reasoning and justification not to have Trump in office." And it's like, are you kidding us? Are you kidding us? And again, this is on Blue Sky, this is on Facebook, this is on Twitter, X if you will. Everybody is saying, you guys are coming up with Elon doing what he did. Yeah, some would say that was an awkward moment. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I do agree that in today's environment, that was an awkward moment. Because people will interpret it the wrong way. But it's like, come on, seriously. You guys are reaching too far right, too far left, far up, far down, far to the corner, far to the right corner, far to the wait. You guys are reaching so unbelievably, to areas that are unreachable for any excuse to say, "Yeah, there's proof right there. Trump shouldn't be in office. Yeah, impeach him. Get rid of him. That's all you're doing. And even the media, like I said, the ones that didn't want Trump in, people at MSNBC, CNN, you name it, they didn't want Trump in, are looking at this like, yeah, this was bad. And yet you have other outlets, even those that weren't for Trump, other outlets like, some reasonable, sensible people at CNN and MSNBC, ABC, Fox, CBS, you name it, Newsmax, all of them that may have not liked Trump, but are more reasonable and sensible and accepting, all of them have been coming out just like those on social media, and they're calling those folks out by saying, "Oh, that's proof right there that people made the wrong decision." It's like, no, it isn't. And they have been giving visual representations of others who have done that kind of a gesture. Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, Tim Walz, who was running for vice president along with Harris, and so on. Basically, they are pointing out, not just at Fox News, not just at Newsmax, but like I said, there are sensible people, reasonable people at CNN, MSNBC, ABC, CBS, and so on, that are also pointing out the stupidity, the ridiculousness of, people saying that, oh, that was a salute to you, that was that salute, and it's like, no, it wasn't. It's like, come on. But look, we all agree it was kind of an awkward moment, especially in this day and age, because people will see something like that and run with it. They'll see something like that and run with it. But again, it's like, come on. How ridiculous. How ridiculous. How far-reaching are you going to go? Why don't you, and I was thinking about how I was going to word this earlier, but here it is. Why don't you, if you're a man or a woman, and I say that with all due respect, no offense, if you're a man or a woman that is upset that Trump got in and Harris didn't, why don't you just come out and admit the truth? Just come out and say, let's say, and I say it with all due respect, no offense, if you're someone that wanted history to be made and we get our first woman president, why don't you just come out, suck it up and say, yeah, we understand that we're reaching too far left or too far right for the dumbest reasons as to why we don't want Trump in, and the reality is we're just mad at the fact that you didn't let history get made and we can have a woman president. Just admit it. And once you do, guess what? A lot of stuff will be lifted off of you. And you'll come to a realization that, okay, I got that off of me, now I can move on. Or if that's not the case, then why don't you admit that the other reason, if that's not the case, the other reason you don't want Trump in is because in your mind he hasn't come forward and basically proved, that he is either innocent of all the charges and all the accusations he's been, accused of, or, at least if he can't have proof, at least show that, hey, you are a true leader, and if you want to lead by example, spend 24 hours behind bars to pay for your crimes. So that way, when you get released 24 hours later, people will see it, and then will drop it. Why don't you just admit that? It is just so ridiculous of the, of how far people are going to reach for any reason to not have Trump in office. It's like, come on, seriously, get with the program, okay? Get with the program. And I understand, people have a right to their opinions, but get with the program. Get with the program. It is so ridiculous to see that being one of the reasonings. And yeah, Elon Musk being Elon Musk, it was an awkward moment. I'm sure he's going to look at that and be like, ooh, maybe I shouldn't have done it that way. And the next time he shows up, he won't do it. Maybe he'll joke about it. Maybe he'll acknowledge, hey, when I, did that, I didn't realize people were going to take it the wrong way, so I'm not going to do it that way. And he'll just do a normal wave. Or he'll just, do this. He'll throw out both hands like, here's my heart, and everything is a thank you. But we'll see. We'll see what he does. But yeah, look, I'll agree it was an awkward moment, but people are taking it too far out of proportions, all because they just don't want to admit, one or two things. Either A, they're upset that history once again was not made and we didn't get a woman president, or B, they just want Trump to either show that he's innocent of all these charges he's being accused of, or lead by example, spend 24 hours or so in prison, behind bars, come out, and then that way, in their eyes, he's paid for his crimes. Instead of, coming up with the dumbest excuses, the dumbest reasons, just admit, the real truth. It's not going to hurt you. It's not going to hurt you. In fact, you'll be surprised of how many people will be in agreement with you. How many people, drinking some Coca-Cola. How many people will be in agreement with you, over that? You'd be surprised. Like, oh, okay. Imagine you come out and admit that. You admit, oh, it's because we didn't have history made. We didn't get a woman president. Or we just want Trump to show visually evidence that he's innocent of all these charges against him. Or or if not, spend at least 24 hours behind bars, to pay for his crime. I guarantee you, if you just admit something like that on one of those two fronts, you'll be surprised of how many people that, talk about, how ridiculously far, reaching you're going for any reason for not to have Trump in office. You'll be surprised of how many people will side with you and be like, okay, now we understand how you feel, why you feel, this way, even though one, reason was very predictable. We get it now. We get it now. And then maybe you might have people be like, see, it wasn't that hard to admit the truth, was it? And that's all they, and you end up be probably in agreement, like, yeah, if, Trump can't provide evidence, yeah, he should spend at least maybe 24 hours, maybe 12 hours or so behind bars and go from there. You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. But anyway, yeah, that one moment was just so, people far reaching for that moment. It was like, are you, it's like, are you seriously kidding me? That is so dumb. So dumb. And then when he gets sworn in, people are like, well, Vance put his hand on the Bible when he got sworn in as vice president, and everything. Excuse me there. He's like, people, I'm sorry. This is what happens when you do things live. You kind of start losing your train of thought, start having a brain fart here and there. Mostly because of, you're talking about these things, you're giving your own unfiltered opinions. You're giving your own unfiltered opinions. And it's like, it's like you're trying to come up with other stuff to say, as to, how far reaching people go for any excuse and reasoning not to have Trump in office. But like I said, one of the other things people point out is so far reaching is they were showing images of both Trump and Vance being sworn in, right? So Vance has his hand on the Bible when he's getting sworn in as vice president. Then they show a picture of Trump and they say, oh, see, Trump doesn't have his hand on the Bible. No, he doesn't. No. And then yet you have people visually showing them, correction, idiots, he does. Or correction, you folks that just don't want him in office, he does. And it's like, and then all of a sudden, you don't hear nothing from these people. You don't hear nothing from these folks. And it's like, okay, it's like, again, why don't you just come out and admit the truth? Admit the truth. Just say, like, on one side, I'm really mad because we didn't get history made. It would have been nice to see a woman president, even if it was 4 years or so, it would have been nice. And look, I agree, we're going to get a woman president. We're going to get a woman president. There's no doubt. But I think there's one factor that, is holding them back. And and I'm not going to say what it is, but I'm sure a lot of people know what, it is. And it starts with an E. It starts with an E, and I'll let you guess from there. So it's like, why don't you just admit it, that's one of the reasons, or the other reason is you want Trump to provide visual evidence, actual evidence of, hey, I am innocent, here you go, here's the evidence. Or if he can't, spend at least 24 hours behind bars, then come out, that way he pays for his sins, and we'll be like, and then we could be satisfied, like, finally, he paid for his crimes, now he learns his lesson, don't screw with these people. It's like, why, again, why don't you just admit the truth as that being the real reasoning? I cannot understand, how people do not, see that, none of this is going to lead to anything. Excuse me, none of this is going to lead to anything. Period. I mean, look, I'll grant you this. Excuse me that. I'll grant you this. When he signed those executive orders in office, some of those, or that transitional power orders and all that, when he signed those papers for the, make the transitional power official, from Biden to him, and, and trying to find the right words, and then publicly at Capital One Arena, he signed all those executive orders. Some of them he did do at the Rotunda, but anyway, I get that some of the orders that he signed that were voted on, people are not fond of. They look down upon. I get it. I understand that. But here's the thing. As controversial as it sounds, it is to set, how do I put this? It is to send a message that, yes, everybody is equal. There's no doubt. There is equality But there's different ways to achieve that equality instead of trying to go out and prove that you can do this just as good as the other gender, can, if not better, if you are part of it. Or vice versa. You get the idea. There's different ways of doing it. There's different ways of doing it. So I understand. There are those that are not happy about that. I get it. I get it. I get it. And I know people feel like, oh, this is just going against the Constitution of home of the brave, land of the free. No, it's not. It's not going against that. It's basically trying to set things back to a status quo to where if you want in the country, that's fine. We get it. You want to be where freedom rings and everything. You want to have free speech. We get that. You want to be in a place where you feel safe. We get that. But you have to do it correctly. You have to do it correctly and not in a way that's going to basically cause trouble. You got to do it correctly. You got to do it the right way. I mean, as we speak right now, I guarantee you, Orange County, I guarantee you, where I live, Stanislaus County, San Joaquin County, Alameda County, all of them right now, in one shape, form, or another, are having the ICE people, driving through and locating those that illegally shouldn't be here. But what people don't seem to understand about that executive order is it's not to target every illegal, right away. No, it is to target the illegals that have caused trouble, criminal trouble. Has caused, lives to be lost and all that. That is, lives to be lost or changed for the worse. That is what they're looking at first. Get those people out first, and then go and find those that don't mean any harm, that just want a better living, and have them understand, look, we get why you want to be here, but we got to send you back, so that way if you do want to come back, you could do it properly. You go through the right paperwork. And in today's technology, that paperwork could go fast just like that. And people know it. It could go just like that, and you're back in before you know it. But people don't seem to understand that these are to make the country safe again and to send a message of, that there is equality. Everybody is equal. Man, woman, you name it. Everybody's equal, but it doesn't mean you have to go improve yourself by participating in something that, let's be honest, you may not have no business in participating in. And that's a fact. That's a fact. But again, people will come up with the craziest excuses not to see that. They will be blind to the truth. They will be blind to the truth. But eventually they will see that, yeah, Trump's not perfect. Biden wasn't perfect. Let's be honest, Harris wasn't perfect. Hey, I guarantee you Vance isn't perfect. Nobody is perfect, but if they can get the job done, that's all that matters. Period. But yeah, anyway, like I said, people were coming up with the craziest reasonings. But throughout the day, I had family. They were watching it. They're watching it, DVRing it. They're going to ask me to put it on DVD eventually because I do have a DVD recorder. But they were watching it, enjoying it, and everything, happy, and everything. They were texting back and forth with other family members and friends. It was, it was a good moment. There's no doubt. It was a good moment, very historical, because it's the first time that a president has been sworn in for a second term, but not back to back. You know what I'm saying? It's not the first, it's the first time in like 100 years, almost 100 years, 200 years since that's happened. So, here we are, history being made, and everything. But yeah, again, there are people, like I said, in this country, in the media and in politics, that will come up with any reasoning not to have Trump in office because it's not what they want. And he doesn't stand by what they stand for. But give it time. Give it time. And if you don't see things maybe in a way that's like, okay, I may not agree with, him as a person personally, but I do see the progress he's made. If you don't see that progress, maybe within, let's say, a year, maybe 2, then I would say, in my personal opinion, you have the right to judge. You will have the right to say, yep, we told you so. But you got to give it time. This is his first 100 days, as it's being called. Being the first 100 days, we'll see what action is taken and go from there. But yeah, he's back in office, whether people like it or not. And again, there are those that are taking a lot of things like that like some of the things I mentioned, out of proportion and trying to use it as an excusable reason to say, see, shouldn't be in office. But it's falling on deaf ears. And hopefully they realize within the next 100 days plus that, yeah, they may not like the person personally, but they do see the progress that's being made. That's pretty much it. All right. Let's get on to our next topic. Our next topic, PCO. PCO destroys the TNA Digital Media Championship at the GCW Game Changer Wrestling event, The People vs. GCW. Now, I'm not going to spend too long on this one, but basically PCO is a wrestler that originally went by the name Pierre Carl Roulette. He competed in both WWE, WWF at the time, and WCW. He was part of the Quebec's tag team with Jacques Rougeau. They won the tag team titles on like 2 or 3 occasions. Then he was repackaged as a pirate called Jean-Pierre Louet. He was repackaged. I'm trying to find the right words. He was repackaged as a pirate called Jean-Pierre Roulette. He had a brief feud over the Hitman Bret Hart and his jacket. So that was one of his highlighted feuds. Then he went to WCW to be part of the Amazing French Canadians. He became part of Team Canada and was handed over the Hardcore Championship, if you will, by Lance Storm. So he had a very interesting and if not decorative career. And he's in his 50s now. And he's still wrestling, but he also knew he had to reinvent himself. And he came up with this Frankenstein-like inspired character called PCO, who mostly became known for competing in hardcore matches. If not hardcore matches that felt more like legit ultra death matches at times. And he was known for basically taking the craziest bumps, almost like Mick Foley. But yeah, he's been wrestling as PCO for a while. He wrestled in MLW. He's wrestled in AEW. Not actually AEW. He competed at he competed at the inaugural All In event that laid the foundation for AEW. I think he competed there. Correct me if I'm wrong. And like I said, he competed all over the place. He's competed in AAA, Japan, Rev Pro in the UK, as PCO and doing these kind of matchups. Anyway, long story short, he signed a contract with TNA Wrestling, Total Nonstop Action, and he won in a match. I don't know who he beat, but he beat. I think he beat Brian Myers, didn't he? I'm not really sure, but he won the. Let me double check, guys. Hold on. Let me double check something here, guys. Hold on. Okay, TNA Digital Media Championship. And let's see. Okay. So, who are the champions? I want to make sure. AJ Francis. It was AJ Francis. And PCO beat him for AJ Francis, once known as Top Dollar in WWE. AJ Francis beat, well, not AJ Francis, but PCO beat AJ Francis for the title in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, at Slammiversary in July last year in a street fight. It was also for Francis's Canadian International Heavyweight Championship. It which is a professional wrestling championship currently defended in the American promotion TNA, which I'm assuming now it's vacant. I'm assuming, but it has a history apparently all the way back into the 80s, and I think it was in the 80s, if you will, it should be there. But yeah, PCO won it back in July and everything. And, again, he's been booked in matches and all that, hardcore mostly and stuff. And last night, well, not last night, but this past Sunday, a little before or around the same time, Genesis, TNA Genesis, which is TNA's first pay-per-view of the year, which was kind of redubbed or rechristened TNA Genesis NXT because of the partnership with NXT in WWE. Anyway, PCO won a kickoff battle royal. He basically won like a Royal Rumble kickoff battle royal match, and then when he was handed the TNA Digital Media Championship, he then grabbed a steel folding chair, unfolded the chair, and basically placed the Digital Media Championship on the chair, went and grabbed a sledgehammer, and proceeded to try and destroy the TNA Digital Media Championship. Yeah, he went and proceeded to try to destroy the TNA Digital Media Championship, which again, as I mentioned earlier, is their equivalent of a television TV championship, internet championship, if you will. But yeah, he proceeded to try to destroy the championship with a sledgehammer. And you had a referee coming in there, an official, if you will, for GCW, as well as somebody else coming in there to stop him, to calm things down. He then gets on the mic, and he starts saying that, he sold out arenas, he sold the most merchandise for TNA, and da-da-da. He was basically running down the company that we thought at the time he still supposedly worked for. But we find out later on from Mike Johnson and others he didn't. His contract came up at the end of last year, which was the end of December. And basically he still was their champion, which, a lot of people, I will agree, have said didn't make any sense. Like, why did you keep the championship on this guy if you knew his contract was coming up? Well, TNA has had a history, most recently with Mustafa Ali. They have a history of putting championships on people that are either there as pay per appearances, or handshake agreements, and when their time is up, they will drop the championship. Mustafa Ali did that, and we haven't seen him since. I think he's touring internationally, or maybe he's getting ready to return to the Royal Rumble. We shall see. Anyway, PCO basically, his contract was up at the end of last year, at the end of December, and a lot of people were questioning, why did you keep the belt on him if you knew he was out the door? Or if you didn't get, or if you weren't able to work something out with him, because apparently he did have some offers given to him by TNA, and he turned them down. I do admit that is a good question. That is a good question to ask, and we may never know. Because here's the other thing too. They were probably, I think this is my opinion. I think they were working, on getting this collaboration deal made official with WWE and NXT, that it just flew over their heads that, oh, wait a minute, we still have one of our championships on a talent that's not going to be here with us anymore. And, they realized, and, they should have realized, oh, we need to get the belt off him, but they didn't. Because here's what's interesting. They got the belt off at Slammiversary. They got the belt off, I think it was but Bound for Glory. It was at Bound for Glory in October. I think it was October. Yeah, Bound for Glory in October. They got the Knockouts Championship off of Jordan Grace and onto Masha Slamovich. Excuse me. They got it off Jordan Grace and onto Masha Slamovich because they knew she was out the door at the end of the year and going to be WWE bound this month or next month. So they needed to get it off her, and they did. So you would think they would have done the same thing with PCO, but obviously they felt confident enough that, hey, he might resign, he might stay, or, hey, he's a man of his word. Even if he doesn't agree to the contract, he'll still, compete for us because he has our title. That didn't happen. And he just went into business, apparently according to GCW, went into business for himself. They had no idea this was going to happen. Had no idea. That's what they said. That's what Brett Lauderdale, the guy that runs GCW, said. They had no idea this was going to happen. They didn't. Because GCW, in a way, has a quasi-working relationship with both TNA and WWE, mostly WWE, because they've allowed, WWE that is, has allowed their talent to show up at GCW and compete in matches, if not Bloodsport matches, as well for Josh Barnett. So it was kind of like, okay, this is awkward and everything for us, from a business standpoint, because, this is basically a talent that is, on our show, that holds the TNA championship, that contractually obligates him to go back to TNA to defend and drop it, destroying said championship on our show. And this is why you had officials trying to calm him down, trying to stop things before they got out of hand. And basically what happened is that, like I said, he was smashing it. He got on the mic, started shooting, if you will, and everything, started to shoot and, tear down the company. And while he was doing it, they had to transition to a video package, because this was not planned. This was like, whoa, wait a minute. He didn't tell us he was going to do this. He didn't tell us he was going to do this. But yet, there you go. And Brett Lauderdale, I think, has come out along with, everybody else that runs GCW and says, look, we apologize for what happened. We had no idea he was going to do that. That was not planned. It was not an angle. It's not planned. He went into a business for himself. We do apologize. That wasn't supposed to happen. And apparently, as I get on here a little bit, apparently TNA is not thrilled with it. They're not. TNA is apparently not thrilled with it whatsoever. And I think, if I can find it, they've got a lot of stuff here. I think Sports Illustrated just had it. I'm not really sure. Here we go. Bring this up. It says the headline. The headline here says, and this was 3 hours ago. And they did an article as well, and Yahoo did it as well. So you got some major articles talking about this, believe it or not. So let's see. Okay, so this is Sports Illustrated, their takedown section. And this is what they say on it. They say PCO destroys TNA Digital Media Championship, rants against TNA and surprise GCW appearance. It says the moment was reportedly unscripted, and GCW cut the show feed momentarily. It says Game Changer Wrestling has developed a reputation for being willing to push the envelope, but its Hammerstein Ballroom show took a bizarre turn Sunday night. TNA wrestler PCO made a surprise appearance on the People vs. GCW pay-per-view, winning the kickoff rumble on the show. He then took the mic and said while he had been with TNA for 3 years, he had something he wanted to say. PCO then grabbed a sledgehammer and his Digital Media Championship. He proceeded to place the belt on a steel chair, then batter it with the hammer multiple times to the shock of the audience. And let's see what he was saying. And this is and they quote, 57, he's 57, going to be 58 this year, I'm assuming. He's going to be 58 this year. This is what PCO said. This is what he said in the shoot. He said, quote, I sold out the biggest house in TNA history while he was smashing about. He says, I sold more t-shirts in one night than any TNA superstars. It says, and then the article goes on to say that the microphone was taken from his hand and music played shortly after. The GCW pay-per-view feed was cut briefly as a result of the incident. It says, and I quote, notably, the PCO appearance came as TNA was hitting the airwaves with its TNA Genesis pay-per-view. While it may have seemed like it could have been an angle, PW Insider, Mike Johnson and all them, reports it was not and appeared to be a legitimate unscripted moment for the former WWE talent. Because again, he was part of WWE with Cobbett, Jean-Pierre Louet, and everything. You know, and of course, the time at WCW. But it says, it appeared to be a legitimate unscripted moment for the former WWE talent. The report also indicated his TNA contract expired, I should say, at the end of 2024. And it says PCO has been in the TNA Digital Media Champion since Slammiversary back in July when he beat AJ Francis in his home province of Quebec. Okay, so that's the one article they put up. The other one they put up was 3 hours ago. 3 hours ago as of today. And let's see what they say here. They say the Digital Media Champion PCO stole the show at GCW's big Hammerstein Ballroom event this weekend, but not likely in the way the company intended him to do. The 57-year-old appeared in the show's opening kickoff rumble, winning the match, and then grabbing a microphone. He told the crowd he had been waiting for 3 years to share the truth about his TNA tenure, then placed his championship on a chair and beat it with a sledgehammer. PCO then started ranting about his status as a draw with TNA before GCW quickly cut the feed. The moment sparked tons of speculation on whether or not it was planned, but it was quickly reported after that it was not. PCO was also said to have finished with TNA at the end of December. And it says Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select has since provided additional information regarding what happened at the People vs. GCW. Sapp reports TNA officials were livid, quote-unquote, over the situation, but things did not go exactly as they appeared. The Fightful report indicates the belt PCO smashed was actually a replica title, and TNA is in possession of the actual championship, one he has held since defeating AJ Francis at Slammiversary in July. He was originally intended to lose the belt at TNA's tapings Thursday, then effectively finish up with the company afterwards. The officials were reportedly under the belief PCO was upset his deal would not be extended and acted out as a result. It is unclear whether or not he will be used by GCW again going forward. And honestly, you can't blame GCW for feeling that way. Like, oh man, we don't know if we could use this guy again. Based on what he did. And I do apologize for any lag, guys, on the live stream. Continuing on, this is a report by Yahoo, if it come up with any issue. This is from WrestleZone at Yahoo. More details on PCO smashing TNA title at GCW event. Original plan for TNA exit. It says a new report provides an update on the controversy, surrounding PCO and TNA. PCO smashed his TNA PCO smashed his digital media championship at the People vs. GCW event on January 19th. He started to cut a promo about TNA before he was cut off. The situation was reportedly legitimate as PCO's actions were not a part of a TNA storyline. Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select reported that PCO was supposed to wrap up with TNA at the television tapings in San Antonio, and his contract expired at the end of 2024. He also noted that PCO was not expected back in TNA. In an update, and I just talked about this here with the Sports Illustrated one, but in an update, Sapp writes that TNA as a company was, quote, livid over the situation. Company sources claimed that PCO had a replica title and that they had the actual championship. However, sources close to PCO denied this claim. Per Sapp, PCO was set to lose the Digital Media Championship and finish up with TNA at the live Impact tapings on January 23rd. It was also noted that TNA sources were of the belief that he was upset that his deal was not renewed. So that's through WrestleZone as reported on Yahoo.com. But yeah, PCO, and again, I do apologize if you're seeing some lag or some blurriness. I do apologize. So any, kind of stuff like that. It says that YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming, and all that. But it'll get back to normal. Don't worry. But anyway, as a matter of fact, let me double check just in case. And I gotta go back to speaker again. Gotta change speakers back. Hold on. But yeah, apparently PCO was upset that I guess his contract was not extended or renewed. But we're not really sure. We're not really sure. Hold on while I check something, guys.
I can't wait for tonight.
Okay, so just got to add here.
No, I'm not.
See. But yeah, apparently PCO was upset. Okay, just making sure things are working right. But yeah, apparently PCO was upset that his contract was potentially, according to reports, according to Sean Rossap, who's very reliable, he was upset that it was not extended or renewed. And we don't know why TNA wouldn't do that. Maybe they feel like, hey, we want to go more in a different direction, especially if they're working with WWE. And I think WWE wants to go in a more youthful direction too, so we'll have to see. But yeah, he went into business for himself, and again, like I said, I don't blame GCW if they're going to be very hesitant to want to bring this guy back to work with them in the near future, because here's the question: would you want to work with somebody again that basically agreed to be there, take part in your match, especially if they knew they were going to go over, but then went into business for themselves? Would you want to work with that person? I wouldn't, or at least if I was to agree to work with him again, I'd be more, hesitant. Like, okay, we'll work with you, but we're going to keep an eye on you. And if you do something again, go into business for yourself again, we'll make sure that not only you're blocked from coming here again, we'll make sure nobody, books you. But we'll have to see what the planning for PCO, or what PCO's future is going to be and everything, and if whether or not GCW will be willing to bring him back in the near future. But we'll see. We'll see what they do and everything. We'll see what they do. Anyway, yeah, that was kind of interesting to see. And all that. It was interesting to see that he would go into business for himself and do that. But then again, this is what GCW is known for sometimes. They're known for essentially, pushing the envelope, and allowing some of these unscripted moments to happen. But, this is obviously one that they did not see coming. And again, I don't blame them, for, cutting the feed when they did and everything, because I think typically they would probably let something like that. I think Brett Lauderdale would let something like that happen, in my opinion. But obviously having a quasi-working relationship with WWE, and now by extension TNA, it's like, yeah, that's not a good look. I too would be, kind of hesitant to want to work, with someone like PCO in the future, or anybody like that again, because again, it's like you're trusting this person to go out, do the job for you, do a job for you and everything, do a service, maybe even get rewarded by going over for said service, but then all of a sudden they go into business for themselves. It's like, yeah, that's not a good look. Should be not a good look, period. But yeah, that's what happened there, and we'll see what the repercussions are going to be going forward for PCO, and whether or not he'll be booked for GCW again, or even booked anywhere. Because when you do something like that and it's on pay-per-view or on a kickoff show, it's like, yeah, and it gets seen and it gets talked about, and then you got unedited video recorded by folks, basically showing him doing his shoot and everything. It's like, yeah, it's gonna be kind of like not smooth sailing for you in the near future. And apparently I got excellent connection now again, so I do apologize for any lag or blurriness in the video, guys. Apparently I got some excellent connection now. But yeah, we'll see what his future holds, in the business down the line. But we'll see. Some might even, I got a feeling some are even going to say, yeah, he might have had something. He might have been high. We never know. Man, you never know. People, from what I've heard story-wise, when in the for wrestling, people that have had a little too much, either drug-wise or drinking-wise, but are still capable of competing, they will use the opportunity to go out and go into business for themselves. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what they do. But yeah, that was kind of interesting and all that. But let me know what your take is on that, if you will. And again, guys, super chats are open. Super chats are open if you want to donate there. And super thanks after the live stream is done rendering, when it's all said and done, in the next several hours after the stream is over. Also, Venmo and Cash App are open if you want to help donate there as well. Okay, so on to the next topic here. The next topic, who's heading to the Super Bowl? So, in case you guys weren't paying attention, this past weekend we have our conference championships for the NFC and the AFC set up, but not in the way some people were probably thinking, because instead of Detroit hosting the championship, the conference championship, that's not going to happen, because Detroit got destroyed in their home stadium. They got destroyed by Washington, and the Washington Commanders are now heading to Philadelphia, who had more of a fight against the LA Rams than anything. But yeah, we are going to get a legendary rivalry, East Coast rivalry, between the Eagles and the Commanders, mostly Eagles-Redskins, if you will, which, by the way, even tribes, if you will, Native American tribes are petitioning for that name to come back, along with fans. But still, you got the Commanders and the Eagles, legendary rivalry, going to meet up in Philadelphia. The winner of that game will be the NFC champion and will face the winner of, once again, Buffalo and Kansas City. This time, for the third time out of, the past 4 years? Third time out of the past 4 years? It will be Kansas City and Buffalo in the AFC championship game in Kansas City. And the winners of that will meet up in New Orleans for the Super Bowl, which, by the way, is going to have increased security after what happened last month. But yeah, basically, they're going to meet up in the Super Bowl. Y'all going to meet up in the Super Bowl, next month. Trying to find the right words to say. I do apologize. Doing this live stream non-stop and everything, and talk about topics and all that, you kind of have a little bit of a brain fart here, and you kind of space out a little bit. So I do apologize for that. But anyway, yeah, the Bills and the Chiefs, once again, the third out of four years, are going to meet in the championship, with the winner going on to face the winner of Washington and Philadelphia in the Super Bowl. So the question is obviously who's going to go this year. A lot of eyes obviously are pointing to Kansas City going back because they got Mahomes and they got Kelsey and all them. And that's an obvious, and that's very obvious if you think about it, especially if they're playing the conference championship at home. So yeah, them going in or going back is the odds-on favorite of happening to represent the AFC. Who they face, we don't know. We know they faced Philadelphia before in the Super Bowl and everything. We know they faced them before, but they've never faced Washington. They've played Washington in the regular season, but they've never faced them in the Super Bowl. So that would be a first. So the question is, who's going to go? Well, I look at it this way. Washington has not been to the Super Bowl since about, 92, I believe? Let me double check. Oops. Let me double check, guys. Hit the wrong thing there. Let me double check. Let's see. Super Bowl. Here we go. Okay. Let's see what we got here. Let's see what we got. The Super Bowl. Let's see. Okay, it's showing host stadiums and all that. Future venues for the Super Bowl will, of course, be New Orleans this year, Levi Stadium in Santa Clara next year, SoFi in 2027, and Mercedes-Benz Stadium in 2028. So, yeah, there you go. But, let's see. Super Bowl champs, let's see. Trying to see. Washington won the Super Bowl in 1992. They won it against Buffalo, and they did it at the Metrodome in Minnesota, and that's gone. That Metrodome is gone, long gone, and that's the last time they went. So it's been about, for the Commanders and this is when they were the Redskins, but for the Commanders, it has been basically essentially 33 years. It's going to be 33 years this week, this upcoming week, and it's going to be 33 years. It's crazy since Washington went. Last time Washington went was 33 years ago, and if they go again, it'd be great, and they could have a potential matchup 33 years in the making against Buffalo. So that would be something. You get a rematch 33 years in the making between Buffalo and Washington. Maybe Buffalo can erase that loss, if you will, from 33 years ago. But we'll see. We shall see. But yeah, that was the last time Washington went, and that's when I was like, me and my family get this. You want to know how long it's been since Washington won? And I'm trying to make sure they didn't win anything else before that. And it doesn't look like they have. Doesn't look like they have or anything. So yeah, I don't think they've won anything since. I don't think they've won anything since or anything. But yeah, why you want to know how long it's been? 1992, okay? I was still 12 years old. Yeah, it's been that long. Because I turned 13 in 92. I entered my teen years that year. It's been that long. And me and my family were living in San Lorenzo. Or San Lorenzo, I think it was San Lorenzo, or basically Miquelin. We were living on Miquelin Avenue in Hayward, on the border of Hayward and San Lorenzo. That's where we were living. Yeah, that's where we were living at the time. On Miquelin Avenue in duplexes on the border of Hayward and San Lorenzo. That's where we were living at that time. And the last time Washington went, we saw the Super Bowl with my grandparents in Hayward on Thomas Avenue. In Hayward, California on Thomas Avenue. It's been that long. So now they're going to probably, if they go back, it's going to be 33 years in the making. And again, they could potentially be in a rematch 33 years in the making with Buffalo. So there you go. Now, here's the thing. Washington can also face Kansas City. And that would be, that would be a first too. That would be a first in the Super Bowl. Like I said earlier, that'd be a first in the Super Bowl. And Kansas City, well, guess what? If they go in, which again, they're the odds-on favorite. If they go in and Philadelphia goes in, it's going to be a rematch 2 years in the making. Because Kansas City won the first of their back-to-back Super Bowls, against them. And they have 3 Super Bowls. They have won, believe it or not, they have won basically 4 Super Bowls in this decade so far. Well, 3 Super Bowls in this decade. But they've never done back-to-back-to-back-to-back. They've never done a back-to-back-to-back-to-back-to-back. Like, who was the last team that did back-to-back? I'm not really sure. Was it New England or something like that? I'm not really sure. I don't think anybody's done back-to-back-to-back-to-back in a while. I mean, really, the only teams that ever came close to that were Dallas and was Dallas, and that was it. But nobody has done back-to-back-to-back in a long time. I think ever. I only think in the 70s when the Steelers were on top, they did back-to-back, right? No, I don't think they didn't even do it there either. So, yeah, it'll be a for Kansas City, it's the opportunity to go back-to-back-to-back-to-back. So we'll see. But again, like I said, the situation is you're either going to get a rematch 2 years in the making between them and Philly, or you're going to get or mind you, you're going to get a first-time Super Bowl matchup between them and Washington. But then again, you also get another first-time Super Bowl matchup with Philadelphia and Buffalo. So there you go. So one way, you're going to get a rematch this is what's interesting. You're going to get a rematch either way. One way or another, maybe. You're either going to get a rematch that's 2 years in the making between the Eagles and the Chiefs, or you're going to get a rematch that's 33 years in the making between Washington and Buffalo. You're going to get a rematch either way. Or there's the potential of having first-time matchups in the Super Bowl. Washington, Kansas City, Philadelphia, Buffalo. That's going to be interesting in its own right. Very interesting in its own right. But the question is, who's going to go? Who's going to be the top seed? Who's going to be the top bananas for the conference? And I do apologize again for any spacing out and all that. I was reading, I was reading the list of Super Bowl champions and everything, trying to make sure, if there was any back-to-backs, and apparently there wasn't. But, again, you could have a first-time matchup either way. You can have a first-time matchup or rematches. So the question is, who goes? Well, like I said, the most logical favorite for the AFC is Kansas City. They're playing at home against Buffalo. Buffalo has not done so well against Kansas City in the postseason, so we'll see. But they did beat them, I think, earlier this year. So so they have that on their side. And if they get in, I'm telling you right now, this is going to be interesting. If they get in and they face Philadelphia, most of the nation's going to be on Buffalo's side. Guarantee it. Most of the nation will be on Buffalo's side because Buffalo has not won a Super Bowl. They've been there, but they've never won it. So most of the nation will be on their side. If Washington gets in, and Kansas City gets in, guess what? People might like Kansas City because of Mahomes and Kelsey's, relationship with Taylor Swift. But guess what? Most of everybody's going to be supporting Washington because Washington hasn't been there in 33 years. They're going to look at that historical fact, look at the fact that they had to change their name in between then, and people want that name back and all that. They're going to be like, we're going to go with Washington. End of story. And that's going to be it. That's going to be about it. But if we get a rematch between Philadelphia and Kansas City 2 years in the making, then obviously fans are going to go with Kansas City. They might go with Philly because they want them to win, but they also realize, they've won one already. So we'd like to see them win another, but we also want to see history get made and see if that three-peat will happen. So that could occur too. But if it comes down to Washington and Buffalo, that's going to be interesting because 33 years in the making for this rematch. The question is who's going to be favored. I've got a feeling you're going to have, it's almost going to be split, but I would say it's going to be like 60-40, 60, with that 60 being in Buffalo's favor. That's what I see happening. So who's going to go? We'll have to see. But again, when you really think about it, you're either going to get two rematches, one that's 3 decades in the making, one that's 2 years in the making, or you're going to get two first-time Super Bowl matchups. What do you guys want? Which do you prefer? Honestly, in my opinion, I know people might criticize me for this, but I want Washington and Kansas City. I do. Because you got Jaden Daniels being compared to Patrick Mahomes, and everything, and in his rookie year, people comparing him to Patrick Mahomes, saying he's only going to get better with age and time, within the next few years. I would love to see that. I would love to see current Patrick Mahomes against future Patrick Mahomes. So I want to see Washington against Kansas City, honestly. That's my opinion. I would love to see that. And see whether or not see the future Mahomes, outscore and outdo the current Mahomes, or if Mahomes can continue on his path to greatness. We'll have to see. But I would love that. What do you guys think? What would you want to see? But yeah, who's going to go? We'll find out this weekend. But like I said, you're either going to have two rematches, one that's 2 years in the making, one that's 3 decades in the making, either one of those, or you're going to get the first-time matchups either between Washington, Kansas City, Philly, or Buffalo. But let me know what your thoughts are. Love to hear what you have to say on that. All right, next up, number 4, Corey Graves, not happy with his announcing position and let it be known on Twitter, but then deletes those tweets. So yeah, in case you guys weren't paying attention, Corey Graves, who's a former wrestler, who's been cleared to get back in the ring because of his injury that took him out, put him into retirement temporarily. was I think it was some kind of neck injury or something, with something with his neck or his leg or something that basically prevented him from ever competing for a while. But he has been cleared to go, get back in the ring, train to get back in the ring and all that. So Corey Graves had been on the main roster announce team for quite some time. He had done NXT when he was repositioned there because of his injury, because he had to walk away for a while. He was repositioned there as a lead heel commentator, but also showed a little bit of unbiasedness. So he was a lead unbiased heel commentator, if you will. And he basically he started announcing commentary and all that for NXT for a while. Then he got moved up to the main roster for Raw, SmackDown, and PLE pay-per-views, if you will, for many years after that, up to currently. And then with the transition of Raw over to Netflix, Corey Graves ended up not on either Raw on Netflix or SmackDown on USA during the whole announcers transition, because Joe Tessitore was brought over to be the lead announcer for Raw for the rest of 2024, starting in September. Well, working with Wade Barrett. Well, Michael Cole went over with Corey Graves to the SmackDown. He went over to SmackDown with Corey Graves because Pat McAfee was off doing College Game Day for ESPN. So anyway, what happened is it was already known and announced and confirmed that these changes were only temporary, and that Michael Cole and Pat McAfee were going to be the lead announce team for Raw on Netflix when it went to Netflix, and that Joe Tessitore and Wade Barrett would go to SmackDown potentially as a 3-man team with Corey Graves. Well, that didn't happen. I mean, we did get a 3-man team, but we didn't get it the way any of us, or even Corey Graves, was probably hoping it would, become or turn out to be. Because on Raw, on the premiere of Raw on Netflix, we got Pat McAfee and Michael Cole. On Friday, I think it was the Friday before, the Friday after. Oh, actually, it was the Friday before. We got Joe Tessitore and Wade Barrett. But then on the Netflix on CW, on the night after the Raw premiere on Netflix, we ended up getting Vic Joseph, Booker T, and Corey Graves. And you could tell facially he was not happy. He tried his best. He tried being a team player, but he was not happy. And what happened is that later that week, if not the following Monday, he let it be known. He let it be known on Twitter that he was not happy with the change. He basically talked about how one dream was taken away, and he tried to facilitate that with another dream that was connected to said dream, or another job that was connected to said dream, and then now how that was taken away because he was not famous enough. Basically taking a shot at Pat McAfee. Well, Corey Graves did not show for NXT last week. He apparently walked away. He took his ball apparently and walked home, or went home. Last seen at the Orlando airport at the TSA, getting his stuff checked and heading home to Pittsburgh. I think that's where he lives. And he wasn't on the show last week. Don't know if he'll be on the show tonight and everything, but he wasn't on there last week because he let it be known. Now, he did promote that he had a lot to say, and he hashtagged WWE NXT and all that, but then it was reported by various sources that he wasn't going to be there. He had gone home. Now, a lot of people, when they talked about the situation, some looked at the fact that this could be a work, but all signs pointed to it wasn't a work. This was legit. This was like a legit shoot situation with Corey Graves. And, everybody, that has talked about this has all basically said the same thing. This, has all basically said the same thing and even visually demonstrated how they feel. And the way they demonstrated how they feel, because you're listening through this through audio, was they basically made it look like they had picked up a tiny violin and did this. That's basically that's basically their answer to Corey Graves. Like, let me get a violin and play a sad song for you. Woo. It's like, to them, like Jim Ross talked about this. You know, Jim Ross, legendary announcer who's been through various announcing changes himself. Jim Ross came out and said, Corey, you know, he didn't say it in this manner, but he essentially, in his own way, in his own JR way, basically said that Corey needs to suck it up. Suck it up and do his job. You know, because there is reports that Corey's going to go back to the main roster, but to suck it up right now and, you know, be a team player. You know, it may not be what you want, but be a team player and do your job. That's it. Because, again, JR has been known to be moved around, you know, to places he wasn't too fond of. I mean, need I remind you that it was around 2008 that Vince McMahon, live, on air, during the WWE draft, decided to screw with Jim Ross and Michael Cole by switching them, unbeknownst to both of them, switching them to different shows. He switched JR to SmackDown. He switched Michael Cole to Raw. And you could hear JR verbally saying, I'm standing up. Because they were telling him in his ear, stand up, wave. And JR almost quit because of that. Legitimate. He almost quit. Because he did not like that, but he sucked it up. He sucked it up and became a team player. It's like, hey, I may not like the move, and they may have sprung it on me as a joke or something like that, or Vince McMahon found it to be funny, but you know what? I'm a team player. I'm not going to let it get to me. I'm going to make the best of it. And that's what he did. And that's why you have him doing that thing when he's asked about this by Conrad Thompson on Grilling with JR. Because basically it's like he knows more so than anybody that you may not like being moved someplace else, but make it work. Make it your own. And that's why even people like Just Alex, Alex 6 of Just Alex, if you will, Alex's World, here on YouTube, you know, on Facebook and social media, even he's like, look, Corey's great and everything, but I don't feel sorry for him. You know, there's other people that do the job a little bit better than Corey. You know, so when you have someone like Alex saying, hey, you're good, you're one of the best, but you're not the best, and you just need to suck it up and do your job, you know, it's like, you know, it's like what else do you want people to say? It's like, what else do you want people to say when it comes to your current situation? I mean, it's strange as a comparison as this is, okay? As strange as a comparison as this is. When I got hired at Walmart back in 2014, I started as a cart attendant, okay? I started as a cart attendant, but I wanted to work my way up to being a cashier. I got that opportunity. But guess what? Even as a cashier and being one of the best, in my opinion, my personal opinion, being one of the best to do it, you know, even for the time I was there, guess what? They still had me doing carts. They still had me doing carts. I would look at the schedule, cart attendant. And did I complain? No. I may not have been happy about it, but I was like, well, you know, okay, fine. I'll go do carts. And I would. I may not be happy, but I was a team player, I would go do it. And that's why a lot of people are not sympathetic to Corey Graves right now. You know, Corey needs to suck it up and realize, hey, this is my job. I may not be happy about being moved here, even temporarily, but I'll make it work. And I think this is why he deleted his tweets, most of them. He deleted most of his tweets, you know, saying what he did. Because I think he talked to somebody at he obviously had to talk to somebody at WWE. He's married to Carmella, who is currently still on the WWE roster, even though she's been inactive due to injury and other personal issues, health issues, that is. You know, he's married to her. She probably talked sense into him. She probably told him, look, it may not be the ideal position you want, but think of it this way. You're still part of the job. You're still, you know, lending your voice to your dream job and everything, to your dream. And you have an opportunity to get back in the ring because you've been cleared. You know, why not use this opportunity to still, you know, contribute to your dream, but also train to get back in the ring and live that dream. You know, so I'm sure she talked to him, and I'm sure he talked with Triple H and Nick Khan, mostly Triple H, and they worked something out to where if he does show up tonight, if he's on there tonight, you know, hopefully he'll explain his actions. If not, that's fine. That's you know, his business. That's his option. But if he's there tonight, hopefully something was worked out to where, you know, he'll be a team player and everything. And if he addresses it and says, look, it was just, you know, this, me being brought down here to NXT just was a shock to me. I wasn't expecting it, but now I just needed a week to really process what happened. So guess what? I'll be a team player, and hopefully that's what happens. Hopefully he is a team player. And people like Eric Bischoff even suggested, hey, this could turn into a good angle for him and Pat McAfee at WrestleMania. Because if you want to do that, and this could potentially lead into that, because him deleting his tweets, most of them kind of makes me believe he's going to do an angle with Pat McAfee. If it leads to something like that, why not have Corey Graves show up on Raw? Or do something on NXT calling out Pat McAfee and say, look, you weren't there on Monday last week because you chose to go work a pre-show for the National Championship? A pre-show? When you could have been calling action for Monday Night Raw? You can have him call out Pat McAfee for that. And other things. Like if you're a real team player, you'd still be here doing this job even during the college football season. You can have them do that, and that would get people invested, in my opinion, to want to see this match between them. So that way they can see whether or not Corey gets his comeuppance, or Corey basically teaches Pat a lesson of, hey, if you're gonna be part of this team, you need to be here, even if you still have another job on during the college football season. But we'll see what they got planned. We'll see what they got planned for in the future if they do that. But yeah. Corey Graves, hopefully he talked to the right people, got things cleared up, got his frustrations out, and hopefully if he is back tonight, that's a good sign that he just needed time to process this and, realize he needs to be a team player because he's still living his dream, even if he's still announcing, even if by announcing he's living his dream, and that this temporary move is just that. It's only temporary for the time being. But let me know what your take is on the whole Corey Graves situation. Do you agree with him and what he did? And do you think maybe they should take advantage, WWE that is, to make this into some kind of angle with him and McAfee? Alright, next up, number 5. Why do wrestling fans complain about things that don't make sense? Now, I've talked about this before, guys, and honestly, this is one of the more laughable, most unexcusable scenarios that I've ever come across as a fan. It is. Because, what's interesting is I will go on Facebook. I will go on Twitter. And I cannot go on either platform and not see people coming up with ridiculous posts that when I see them, and people's responses are laughing emojis. Most of the responses are laughing emojis and all that, and just playing along with what this person is saying. I look at these and I'm like, seriously, folks, why are you trolling? Why are you being such trolls? I mean, you're complaining about this, you're complaining about that, and people can see it in your verbiage that you're not being serious about what you're saying. You're just trolling. I mean, what's the reasoning for that? Huh? Is it because maybe you feel fans buy into what's going on, into the stories that are compelling in wrestling so much that you got to troll them? I mean, come on. I mean, this is so ridiculous. And you have people trolling about Triple H being like, oh, Triple H didn't do this person well. Oh, he sucks. See, he's failing on this person. He sucks. He sucks. That person should have stayed in AEW or da-da-da-da. I mean, come on. Come on. We know you're trolling. We know you're trolling. Just admit it. I mean, again, you have people playing along with this. And even as they play along, they're calling out that troll. Well, that person for trolling, being, come on, dude, we know you're making shit up. You don't mean what you say, you're just making shit up because, the fact that you're probably not old enough to understand, basically. And again, I don't just see it on places like Facebook, like in groups like Pro Wrestling World and Pro Wrestling Network and so on. I also see it, like I said, on Twitter, on X, if you will. Because you have people... And you know how I know these are trolls and maybe people that are young and don't quite understand the business, maybe even young teens, preteens, if you will? You know how I know They're in that category. Because when they criticize someone like JD, JD from Off the Script here on YouTube, when they criticize him by saying, "Oh, he sucks," Triple H's you know what, or JD's this, they make such ridiculous accusations and they make ridiculous comments and everything. And JD even sees this, and he'll comment, he'll reply, but he does it in a way to where he knows this is stupid. That what he's being accused of and everything, people are saying about him, it's dumb. And he can tell it's not people of, that are in their 20s or their 30s or their 40s or their late teens that are reasonable enough. He knows it's young kids. He knows it's preteens. He knows it's teens that are just getting into high school that are saying this. He can see it. He can see it. And it's like, it's like, this is why when you watch you watch his live streams or his recordings, his topic videos, if you will, that he does, his OTS extras, if you will. This is why you see him making fun of people, going like, the JG says this, says this. It's because he knows these people complaining are ridiculous. He knows they're complaining for things that don't make sense. Because of the fact that he knows, Solomonster knows, Alex Hicks knows, OTR Central knows, Greg Morgan knows, a good mic work, even Jim Cornette and Vince Russo, Eric Bischoff, all of them know that these people that make this complaint are nothing but teenagers. Teenagers that are on there typing up going like, "Ooh, I'm going to say this about JD." And Solomonster, I'll make them look like idiots. But what they're doing is they're doing it to themselves. Because people like JD, Alex, Solomonster, they don't take him seriously. Because they don't take things seriously. It's like I said earlier about the whole Trump situation and how people are reaching for any reasoning to not want Trump in office. Same goes here. Why don't you just come out and say the truth? Why don't you suck it up, grow up a little bit, and admit the truth? Just say, JD, the reason we get at you and other wrestling fans is because you guys take this way too seriously. Just enjoy the product. That's all, okay? Just enjoy the product. Just say that. Just say it. Just say, "Look, JD, we know you like story and everything, and you like good wrestling too. So, look, just enjoy the product. Don't take it so seriously. Come on here on your show and go like, that was a great Dynamite. Bravo!" And then that's it. Why don't you guys just say stuff like that? Just suck it up, grow up a little bit, and say it. Because to me, it's like when you allow yourself to be seen publicly, in saying what you say, it's not a good look for you. It's not a good look, period. I wouldn't think it's a good look. I mean, I've done and said things that I shouldn't have, and it's not a good look for me. It's like, why do this? Are you so starved for attention that you have to come out and make some silly quips? Huh? You have to make some silly, unsensible quips when you pretty much know better? I mean, I get there are some fans that buy into what people like Tony Khan, who runs AEW, are, promoting or selling. Tony Khan, he said when AEW began, he wants to make it a sport again. He wants it to be looked at as a legit sport. And, I don't blame, I don't blame people for buying into that because, basically, if there's one goal you always want in mind when it comes to something you're a fan of, is you want it to be taken seriously and seen on the same levels as boxing, that's promoted by IBF, WBO, WBA, whatever, as well as mixed martial arts, like the UFC or Pride or whoever. You want it to be seen in that category to where shows like ESPN SportsCenter will take a segment and dedicate it to wrestling, be like, okay, tonight on AEW Dynamite, there were some great matches. Let's take a look at the highlights. And it's like, we get it. And if that's the other reason too, just like I said earlier, suck it up, man up, and admit it. Just say, "Look, man, we want you." It's like, "Look, man, the reason we say these things to you is because we want the sport of wrestling, the in-ring competition, to be focused on more so that we could see it get highlighted on SportsCenter. Just say that. Just say it. Just admit it. It's not that hard to do. But they don't. So they go out of the way and complain about certain things that don't make sense, and try to complain about certain people that, talk about wrestling for a living and everything, and actually are in the business to an extent as commentators, if not commissioners, like JD and Solomon are for House of Glory. They will come up with the lamest reasonings and excuses that they know don't make sense, just because they don't have the courage. They don't have the courage to come out and basically admit it, and just say it like it is. Just say it like it is. That's it. Just say, just come out and admit, we want wrestling to be focused on. We want the in-ring competition to be focused on so it can be seen on SportsCenter. That's it. That's it. Just suck it up and be man enough about it. That's it. Just admit the truth. That's all you have to do. Just suck it up and be man about it. Be man about it. Suck it up. Suck it up. Have the courage to admit that, the reason you say the things that you do is because you're more about the sport. You're more about, the sport being legitimized again. That's it. Just say it. I mean, I would, but yeah, don't come up with the lamest of excuses because of the fact that, basically you either find it to be the cool thing to do, and everything because you're a kid and all that. Just acknowledge it. Just come out and acknowledge that the reason you want things a certain way, or the reason you do these things is because you want things a certain way. That's it. I mean, how many times has AEW or TNA or New Japan or whoever done something reminiscing, of what you would see in the Attitude Era, and all of a sudden people are like, yeah, that's what they need. That's what WWE needs to do. They need to bring the Attitude Era back. We all know why people want the Attitude Era back. It's not because of the in-ring competition or the storytelling. No, it's because of other reasons, and they have to do with the word T, and they have to do with the words T and A, and I'm not talking the wrestling company. That's what it has to do with. I mean, how many times will people see a picture of Tiffany Stratton? People will see a picture of Rhea Ripley. People will see a picture of Lyra Valkyrie. People will see a picture of Michin. And instead of commenting on, oh, that's, they're a great wrestler, I hope they get the opportunity. No, what do they talk about mostly? She's so beautiful, and I wish I could get a piece of that. That's, and when I see stuff like that, and these are coming, and then I see, when I see people comment on like that, and then I see the same kind of people comment on, oh, WWE should be like the Attitude Era. It's like, come on, we know why you really want it. We know why you really want it. There's no hiding it. There's no hiding it, okay? And we know you want the violence back too. Okay, fine, that's true. You're going to get that on occasions. WWE's not going to rush in and say, okay, this week, death match. Next week, death match. Death match. Death match. Death match. Death match. No. They will only do it when it's necessary. Why do you think they allowed Drew McIntyre and CM Punk to do what they did in Hell in a Cell? I'm just saying. The point is, stop complaining and complaining about stuff that don't make sense. Stop trolling and everything, and just suck it up and admit the truth. That's it. That's all you have to do. But yeah, people complaining about stuff that just don't make sense, complaining at people for their opinion that don't make sense. It's like, come on, be serious. Be serious for once in your lives, okay? Be serious. I mean, you want to know why sometimes the wrestling fan base loses fans? Huh? Because of stuff like that. So you gotta suck it up, grow up, and just admit the truth. Admit that just come out and admit to people, look, we know you have your opinion, we know you like storytelling, but just enjoy the show, man. You take it too seriously. Just admit that, or admit, hey, man, we get what you're saying, but we we still stand by what Tony said of him legitimizing the sport to make it legit again so it can be seen on places like SportsCenter as highlights. Just admit that. Just admit that, ladies and gentlemen. And I guarantee you, once you do, believe it or not, in my opinion, could be wrong, but in my opinion, people like JD, Solomonster, Greg Morgan, Eric Bischoff, Vince Russo, Alex Hicks, they will OTR Central. They will be all understanding of it. Okay, be like all understanding, like, okay, guys, we get it now. We get it. You just want us to enjoy the product, even if it's bad, and not take it seriously. Okay, we get it. That's your opinion. But hey, this is what we do for a living, and and it's our show. It's what we do, and we're gonna give you our opinion on how we feel, whether you like it or not. Or if you say it the other way, that you want wrestling to be the main focus, so it gets legitimized and seen on places like SportsCenter, then yeah, then you'd be surprised maybe what the response would be. Like okay, guys, we get it. You want it to be legitimized, so that way after you see a highlight on SportsCenter of the latest basketball game for that night, or one of the basketball games for the night for the NBA, that the next highlight would be about, hey, this is what happened on Dynamite, or hey, this is what happened on Collision, or hey, this happened on Raw or SmackDown. Okay, we get it, but guess what? That's not going to happen, so you need to get over it. Or if it's the other way, like again, people always say we want the Attitude Era back. It's the same people that comment about comment on the pictures of Michin and Chelsea Green and Lyra Valkyrie and all of them, like, I want a piece of that kind of stuff. Just come out and admit that the reason you want the Attitude Era back is because of that, and maybe for the bit of violence you get every now and then. Just admit it. Just admit it. Just admit it. Excuse me. It's not that hard to do. It's not that hard to do. But anyway, guys, give me your thoughts on that. Let me know how you feel about people, wrestling fans, quote unquote wrestling fans, complaining about things that don't make sense. All right. Next topic. Number 6. This is the last year, 2025, Microsoft will give support to Windows 10, which ends in October of this year, 2025, but should support continue to at least 2026. Now, as I alluded to at the beginning, yesterday, after I uploaded a few videos, a live stream for a women's CAW Creative Wrestling All-Star Rumble, as well as some other videos that I created, a mock-up simulation of last night's national championship, as well as some wrestling matches as well from WWE 2K24. Basically what I did is I decided to update my computer. Now I tried to do this the other night, but like I mentioned earlier, apparently the security update went through, but the other two updates did not. Those being the cumulative update and the cumulative update.net framework update for January. The cumulative update, which is on its own, basically, and the .net framework update. Well, yesterday I decided to do the updates, and most of them went through. Most of them went through without a problem this time. And so I said, okay, I'm going to update my computer. I'm going to update and shut down. Well, I let it go through its pace. I let it go through its space and everything. Or let it go through its steps, I should say. And it popped back up yesterday. Last night. The thing about these updates sometimes is they do take a while, depending on what you have in your computer and how big they are and how long you've paused the updates and everything. So I let it go through its courses. I rested a little bit, ate dinner, played some games, and all that. I let it go through its paces, if you will. And long story short, got up this morning. Everything was all set and ready to go, because one of the things I will let happen if I'm doing the update throughout the day and it takes a while is I will go to bed and I will sleep through it, and hopefully I'll wake up, God willing, to a computer that's, not loading anymore because the updates and everything are taken care of. The rebuilding and everything's taken care of. And normally what I'll do is, one of the things I will do, I should say, or try to do, is I will check to see, make sure things are up to date. And usually when I go and check for updates, it will say you're up to date. Well, I went to go check for updates. I went to go check that, I should say. And instead of saying you're up to date, it said you have an error. One thing did not download. So I'm thinking, okay, what does this mean, right? So I looked that up. And everything. Because what I did is I went and checked. And I'm going to look at this right now to give you guys an idea of what I'm talking about. I went and checked. Now, I paused it up till the 10th of February and everything because it said one update did not go through. And I'm thinking, what is that? Right? So I checked the update history. I went to the update history. I'm going to go to it right now and everything, if it lets me. And this was the update. This is as of yesterday. It said, view update history, quality updates, 2025 January cumulative update for .network. Okay, this is what it says. It says, cumulative update. Cumulative update for .NET Framework 3.5, 4.8, and 4.8.1 for Windows 10 version 2022 H2 for x64. They said basically the .NET Framework for 3.5, 4.8, 4.8.1 for Windows version 22 H2 for x64 was successfully installed on the 20th. Now, here's what's interesting. It says, and I quote, the update successfully installed for November. These are the only ones they're showing me. I don't think they're showing me anymore. But yeah, basically they're saying that a lot of what was installed, because I'm looking at the history here, okay? I'm looking at the history. All right? I'm looking at the history. And a lot of stuff was installed. Now, what's interesting is the framework. The last time the framework was installed was in November for October. So obviously it's every now and then. But yeah, it was not. But yeah, it was the last time it was put in there was for October. And then before that, I'm trying to find, the framework was put in for August. So it's like every 2 to 4 months, it looks like. Or maybe every month period. It all depends, apparently, on how the thing is looked at. But yeah, basically I uploaded it, and it said one thing was not uploaded. There was an error. What that error was, I don't know. Because the one thing I didn't see was the security one, but I know it got updated. And it went through its paces. And everything. It did the update, turn off, come back on, do everything it did. It did everything. And it would have popped something up. It would have said, hey, something has yet to be updated. Or it would have done said update that didn't get updated. But it didn't do it. It just said there was an error. And that got me thinking as to, okay, what was that? Now, sometimes, I've dealt with this before. Sometimes it'll take them a while to acknowledge, okay, updates were done, to give you the message of you're up to date. But I didn't see that. Instead, I saw something that said an error. Now, that could have been the fact that the file might have been corrupted. And they couldn't use it. So they have to maybe wait till next month to try to fix that. Maybe that's what's going on. I don't really know. But yeah, there was an error. But everything else was fine. Everything else was fine. And, it had most of the evening. It had most of the evening while I was resting. Well, not most of the evening, but most of the late night, if you will, to fix that. To basically update it and say, okay, now you got to update and shut down your computer again to install this update. But it didn't do it. So it got me wondering if maybe it was a corrupted file, not just on my computer's part, but their part, because I've heard that kind of stuff happens, because everything else is working fine. Everything's good. But it also got me thinking, with this being the last year, because now we have literally, basically, we have literally 8.5 months to go. 8.5 months to go before October of this year, before they shut it down. But, they shut down support and everything. Now, they do say you can still get support, kind of, but you got to pay for it, and everything. And I don't know how much they're going to charge for that. So they're essentially saying, hey, you got until October of this year to get your butts in gear and get yourself a laptop or a PC that has Windows 11. That's what they're saying. But yeah, basically, the support for Windows 10 ends in October of this year. But obviously, the question I have, and anybody else would probably have, is should it continue to at least 2026? And honestly, I think it should. I think support for Windows 10, non-profit, non-paying for, should continue to at least 2026. Give it at least. I look at it this way. Give it to at least, I'd say, I would say give it to at least the end of January 2026 for people to, either clean out the computer so they can install Windows 11, or go out and get a new PC, mini PC, laptop, whatever, that has Windows 11. At least extend it for at least the rest of the year. Don't end it in October and all that. Give them time to have it till at least, give them time to have it to at least, basically, next year. To at least the end of the first month next year. In other words, give it a year, literally, from now to continue. That way people will have enough time to go out and get, a new PC or a new mini PC and so on and go from there. But that's just my opinion. But I do believe it should continue. It should. Because you've had people kind of comment about Windows 11 and, yeah, obviously it's improved. Don't get me wrong, but it's like, yeah, should we really trust it yet? Did they get everything worked out? That's the question. So I think at least, give people up until the end of January 2026 and go from there and see what happens. But yeah, I truly believe it should continue. I think it honestly should continue for the foreseeable future, at least until, like I said, the end of next January 2026. So you give people plenty more time to, get things adjusted, clean out their computers as best they can, give it enough time and room in the computer to, basically, install, if it can, the new Windows 11 update and go from there. But that's just my opinion. But yeah, I think honestly they need to give it more time and everything. Now, whether or not this error I got, because everything else, like I said, worked out fine. Everything's good. But whether or not this error I got is basically, something related to them not really focusing on Windows 10 support that much anymore, knowing that this is the final year. Whether or not it has to do with that, I don't know. But if it does, then I think they need to get on the ball. I think Microsoft needs to talk to the people and say, look, this might be the last year, but we still got to support this software, as much as we can, while we're also focusing on Windows 11. But we'll see. We'll see if that's we'll see if that's the case. I have it paused to at least after the Super Bowl, which means I might just unpause it because I don't know what I'm doing for the Super Bowl. I'm assuming I'm going to be with family, and if we are, just go from there and let the computer update throughout the day and just have some fun. Just do what I can. I mean, I have my phone, so that's good. That's a good enough thing there. So we'll see. We'll see what the next step will be, but we'll see what the next step for Microsoft will be, whether or not they will extend to at least next year. At the end of January 2026. But yeah, again, I don't know if maybe me getting that error is because it was a corrupted file. It shouldn't have been, or if it's something on their end because, again, this is the last year and they're probably not going to, not really show much, not really provide as much support as they used to. I mean, they're still going to have to because they're obligated to do so, but not really sure if they will going forward. But let me know what your guys' thoughts are on that. Let me know if you guys have had problems with, updates to where it looks like everything's fine, everything's updated as it should, but then you get that message of, hey, something didn't update, there's an error and all that, and whether or not it's a corrupted file or you found out maybe something on their end. Let me know. Love to hear your thoughts on that. All right. Next topic. When you have the chance, money-wise, upgrade to the monthly subscription that will give you the most credits. Now, today, I got my payment from YouTube, which is, for me, in some cases, a bi-monthly payment. If I'm fortunate to have it monthly, it's all because of people like you supporting me. Which, again, super chats and all that are, open if you want to help out there. And super thanks afterwards. But anyway, getting back to the topic, when it comes, I'm getting tongue tied here. Let me get some more Coke. Excuse me. There we go. But like I said, topic is, when you have the chance, money-wise, upgrade to the monthly subscription that gives you the most credits. And like I said today, I got my payment from YouTube. And obviously, most of it's going to go to bills and everything. Some bills may not be taken care of and everything. Because the one thing my bank does, and I'm sure your banks do the same, is if you don't have the money in your account, it's not going to allow you to basically pay bills. Especially if the bills that are automatic. But I do suspect some will be taken care of. Probably as we speak. But anyway, though, today, like I said, I got paid by YouTube. And I wanted to, I made this, I planned this out in my head, like, okay, if I'm going to continue having some fun with Kling AI and Pixverse AI, and, Luma or whatever, I'm going to have to go with the more expensive, I wouldn't say, well, not most expensive, but the second most expensive monthly subscription, even if it's just for a month. And I decided I was going to go and do that. So with Kling, I decided to go and continue doing the $32.67 one. Because I could have gone higher, but I thought I'll just do the 32 one. And I did. And then as far as Pixverse goes, I decided, you know what? I could do the one I've been doing, which is $1,200, or I can go higher. And I went a bit higher. Basically $30 to do the 6,000 one, because that's a lot and I'm not going to be in much of a hurry. Like, I could be doing it right now, but I'm doing the live stream, So my recommendation for this topic basically is if you do have a subscription to any one of those, whether it's Halo U AI, Pixverse, whether it's Runaway, whether it's Video.net, or Kling, if you will, my suggestion is always go, especially if you know that maybe financially, you're not going to be able to do much, for the next month or so, because of bills, or maybe you're still looking for work and everything like I am. My suggestion is go for the highest one. Go for the highest one subscription-wise, or the highest one credit-wise, that you can afford. So that way you have enough credits in there to buy the time, if you know what I mean. That's just my suggestion, because I think the more you do it, the better you will be. The better you will be at utilizing it. And also my suggestion is, try to, when you do prompt something to the credits, when you use your credits to prompt something, go with the lowest credit. If you have enough credits, if you have a lot of credits, go with the lowest one though. Go with the easy for me to say. Go with the lowest credit deduction when it comes to getting your video prompt, getting your idea made. Go with the lowest credit, if you will, and you'll be surprised at what how much you can save. You'll be surprised by that. Go with the lowest credit. Even if you're using the newest upgraded technology or whatever AI thing that they're doing, go with the lowest credit, if you will. Even if that means like Pixverse, you got to go 2.5 or 3, or 2.5 or 3. That's fine. For me though, I go 3. So if you have enough on there, like I have 6,000 right now credits, go with the 30. But if you have less than that, go with 2.5, which is 15 credits. And as far as Kling goes, Kling, if you want to do the Kling 1.6, then my suggestion is you could do the 35 for professional and the 70 for professional if you have the credits. Or my suggestion is to stick, if you're doing Kling 1.6, my suggestion is go with the 20s or 40 on standard. And you'll still get a decent picture and everything, or decent video and everything. But that's just my suggestion. Same with Halo U. Halo U, if you got credits there and everything, go with the second highest, if you will. Go with that. And, even though you can't really change, the deduction of credits, go with the highest there. Or if you want to buy credits as a security blanket to ensure for future fun, hobby, project, whatever you want to do, then honestly, go with the $5 one or $10 one. The $5 one will give you about 500 credits. The $10 one will give you 1,000. Those are the best bets affordably if you have the money to do it in the future. And that's what I did. That's what I did. Because I knew basically either way I was going to do it, but I also knew that this payment YouTube gave me is not going to last too much longer, if you know what I mean. But that's just me. That's just my suggestion. And it does help out because if you're doing other things, like let's say you're working or you're taking down Christmas decorations and all that, you won't be using too many of these credits for a while. I mean, this is why on To Do Right, I went with the highest one, which is 1,000 or 100, over 100,000, and it's been helping me out ever since. I think I went with the million one. And it's been helping me out since because I'm able to extend certain stories that I make to add in certain elements and scenarios, if you catch my drift. But anyway, though, guys, I think that's what you should do. But I'm not you. That's just what I've done. But my suggestion, my opinion, is if you use Kling AI or Pixverse AI or Halo U, Runaway, or VidiU that allows you to buy credits, go in that direction. Go with that. Go in that direction of go with the second most one if you have the money. It's going to give you enough credits, even subscription rights for a month, even if you can't, pay that subscription the following month. Go with it, and you should be okay because you do get daily credits added on throughout the day, or throughout the week. So that's just my opinion, guys. Let me know what your thoughts on it. Comment down below. And again, guys, super chats and all that are open. Super thanks after the video, the live stream. When the live stream is done, the rendering of it is done. Super thanks will be open as well. And guys, check me out at Venmo and Cash App if you want to help support there as well. All right, final topic, because we're getting on this a little too long. Should Paramount and Hasbro, Paramount/Hasbro, make the upcoming Transformers G.I. Joe film based in the IDW Energon universe, or at least take elements from it to add to the movie's story? And in case you guys don't know, well, it's not IDW, it's Skybound. I don't know why I put IDW. I'll have to correct that in the description. I do apologize for that. In fact, let me do that right now. Well, I don't know why I put IDW. I think I put IDW because it's so associated. There we go. I think I put IDW because it's so associated. They've been so associated with Transformers for so long that it's just automatic. And I'm sure I'm not the only one that thinks that way. But again, should they? Easy for me to say. But should IDW? I mean, I'm getting tongue tied here, guys. I'm getting tongue tied. But basically, should they add? Hold on, guys. Let me go get something to drink real quickly. Hold on. Alright guys, I'm back. I had to get a bottle of water here. Okay. Yeah, place it over here. But yeah, basically let me get some water here. Better. But yeah, again, should Paramount / Hasbro make the upcoming Transformers G.I. Joe film based in the Skybound Energon universe, or at least take elements from it to add to the movie stories? Again, should Paramount / Hasbro make the upcoming Transformers G.I. Joe film based in the Skybound Energon universe, or at least take elements from it to add to the movie's story? And honestly, I think they should. And I think they should, do it, I should say, either way. I think they should either base it in the Energon universe done by Skybound or take elements. Because either way, it'll make things a lot more interesting. Because obviously it's hinted at the end of Rise of the Beast that G.I. Joe has known about the Transformers. So I think obviously you need, obviously this sets up, I should say, the opportunity to take elements, at least, from the Energon universe and apply them into the movie story. Because again, like I said, G.I. Joe has basically indicated have been aware, I should say, of the Transformers' existence for a while. So, to me, there's your foundation to add in those elements from the Energon universe and really make this a story, a crossover story, for the film that people will be excited about. But also I could see them basing it in the Energon universe. I could see that. I could see them basing it in the Energon universe, where you would have acknowledgments to what happened in Void Rivals, to what happened in the issues of Duke and Scarlet and Destro and Cobra Commander and so on. I could see them doing that, which I think would be great. Because again, it makes the story, a lot better than maybe what people are skeptical about going forward with this movie being made. But, to me, I think the opportunity is there. And you can't tell me that the people behind this crossover film aren't looking at what's going on in the Energon universe and Skybound, being like, oh yeah, those are things we could use. Because they are. They are definitely looking at that. And I think, honestly, if any one of them listens to this in the future, because podcasts and videos, they get around when it comes to YouTube. They get around, not just through social media, but they get around to the point that there's a possibility someone on the creative team for the movie will see this and basically be like, hey, that guy's got a point. Maybe we should look into the Skybound stories to see what this Energon universe could offer us to implement into the film. And again, I think it would be a great move. I think it would be a tremendous move. Because again, you could take certain elements, and apply them, to the film. Maybe even a kind of a loose capacity, but apply them to the film. Or you could just straight up loosely adapt the Energon universe concept into the film and go from there. And I guarantee you, if you do that, and people that have subscribed to the book or reading the books and all that, I guarantee you do that, folks that go to the film and go and see the film, when they watch it and they start seeing things that are like, wait a minute, wait a minute, that's from the Energon universe comic, and so is that. When they start pointing that out, then you know you would have done something right, because what you'd be doing is taking elements from one of the most favorite story arcs and continuities right now in comics and bringing it to life on the big screen, even if it's just little elements that are adapted or loosely adapted from it, or the storyline arc, if you will, that and the plot that is adapted from it, straight up, if not loosely. So I think Paramount / Hasbro should do that. I think they should. I think they should look at Skybound, and I think the people working on the film should take those elements from the Energon universe, some of the elements they know that will stick out from the Energon universe, and apply them to the film. If not, take one of the certain story arcs that really is the focal point in the Energon universe and apply it to the film and go from there. Because I guarantee you right now, folks, they do that, whew, I promise you right now, people that go and see that movie will make it a box office hit. I guarantee it. But could I be wrong? Yeah, I could be wrong. It may not make it a box office hit. It may make it a flop. But we'll see. We'll see what they do. But I think they should. Because if you've not paid attention to the Sonic movies, if you've not paid attention to the Sonic movies, you'll see that even though they're not straight up adaptations of the games and all that, they have taken elements from the games, they've taken story arcs from the games, and loosely mixed them together into their own little world, and guess what? It's worked to success. It's worked to success to the point that now we have possibilities beyond possibilities after the third film. So if you could have a franchise like Sonic do that for its movies, imagine what the Transformers G.I. Joe film could do for itself in future movies, ladies and gentlemen, if Paramount and Hasbro and the creative team behind the film take the elements, from the Skybound Energon universe, or a certain story arc from the Energon universe, and adapt it, if not loosely adapt it, or loosely insert these elements into said story. Imagine how much better that movie will be. And imagine, again, people's reactions. They're sitting in the theater, and all of a sudden they see a certain element or a moment that, is very similar, if not identical, to what they saw in the Energon universe in Skybound. Imagine the reaction. And imagine the success that movie will have if they do that. But honestly, I think, in my opinion, they should do it. And I think either way it's going to be a success for them. I really do. Either it's little elements here and there, or a straight up loose adaptation of a certain focused story arc from either the Transformers book, Void Rivals, G.I. Joe, Scarlet, Duke, Cobra Commander, you name it. Whatever will work, I think will make it a huge success. I do. And if not a huge success, at least it'll make it a movie that will be a box office hit and not a failure. That's what I look at. But let me know what your guys' thoughts are on that. How do you feel? How do you feel about the possibility of them potentially, doing something like that, or should be doing? Let me know. Let me just know how you guys feel, whether or not if they should do something like that, or would you be up for them doing something like that? Let me know. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on it, going forward. And hello, Clone Enoch. Nice to see you in the live chat. How do you feel about the new Transformers movie? Well, if you mean Transformers 1, I like it. I like the film. I watch it. I have it and everything. I like it. I really do. But yeah, guys, let me know what your thoughts are on that, because again, you take a look at the Energon universe by Skybound, and it's got so much to offer. It's got so much to offer that it's not funny. And I think there are elements in the Transformers book that are part of the Energon universe. There are elements in the G.I. Joe books that are part of the Energon universe, and the Void Rival ones that I think, again, if you take little things here and there and place it into the G.I. Joe Transformers film, little elements here and there that people can recognize from the book and point out, I guarantee you, ladies and gentlemen, that you will see a movie that it may not be a $1 billion box office hit, but it'll still be a box office hit that will, in my opinion, salvage that franchise. It will salvage this, cinematic universe, if you will, of theirs, enough to where you could get a follow-up G.I. Joe film and maybe a Void Rivals film in the future. I guarantee you, it could do it. It could do it if they go down the route of adding elements from the Energon universe and adding adding elements from the Energon universe, if not loosely adapting, if it's not straightforward adapting an arc from there to be to be the focal point of the film. But that's really all I can say on it, guys. Let me know what your thoughts are on it. Let me know down below in the comments as well as in the live chat. And again, super chats are open still, but we are going to be closing up here this topics on my mind video live stream, I should say. Guys, let me know how you feel about some of the topics I've had to say. I will add chapters to them so that if you want to watch it in chapters, you will get parts here and there as well. But guys, let me know how you feel about each and every one of the 8 topics I mentioned here. Give me your thoughts in the comment section below. Again, guys, super thanks will be available hopefully maybe right away, if not, after the live stream is done rendering within the next few hours. So you can help donate there as well as at Cash App and Venmo. Also, guys, check me out at all your favorite, as I mentioned at the beginning, all your favorite podcast affiliates. Links are in the description. Check me out at rumble.com at BWRoses, odyssey.com at BWRoses, Vimeo at BWRoses. Check me out at devernart.com at BVW1979. Also, check me out at inkbunny.net at BWRoses. Click on the link in the description for to go to my Teespring store to find merchandise you can't get anywhere else. Again, guys, also check me out at all your favorite podcast affiliates like iTunes, iHeart, Spotify, Audible, Pandora, wherever there's a podcast available, or wherever there are places for podcasts to be available, you'll probably find me there as well. Also, check me out at Radio Public as well. It's over there as well. You can find me there as well. But guys, again, anywhere podcasts are available, you'll probably find mine there as well. Also, check me out at twitter.com at BWRoses and bluesky.com at BWRoses as well. But guys, that's all for today. Thank you all for joining me. And until next time, I will talk to you all later. I'm going to go get myself some lunch. You all have